The sun went down on Tuesday. It was a full day. It dawned with all the fresh innocence of every new day. It unfolded its morning with promise, with plan, with vision, with dreams. A full moon crowned its zenith. Then, almost imperceptibly, the shadows began to lengthen. Not unpleasant, but welcome was the shade of the afternoon. The plan had been revealed. The vision cleared. The dream became retrospect. The sky began to spread the news that the day was done. The sun went down on Tuesday. Wednesday dawned with its own promise. O God of all the days complete, help me to understand the beginnings and the ends so that I may let go of the past. And in so doing, go renewed and free into the new day that you plan for me. Throughout this series, I've been trying to emphasize that the central message of dealing with change and transitions is that they provide incredibly important spiritual opportunities for us. And it would be really a shame, kind of, if we missed the spiritual opportunity. Anyone, but particularly the ones when we go through what oftentimes feels like suffering, for example, when we go through those changes that are difficult. And it would seem to be somewhat of a wasted opportunity if we simply suffered and did not harvest the blessing of spiritual opportunity. So that's why we've been spending 4 weeks on this. And it's coming to an end. There will be no more changes. Right. Even talks on change have to come to an end because, well, I need to change to something else. And you'll have another adjustment to make next week we have the Swami coming, so you will definitely have an adjustment to make, but I think you will find it a most pleasant change and also a spiritual opportunity. Wouldn't we love to just see the pattern in life, yeah? So often I think we sort of are surprised by life, and we hunger for meaning when things shift. So the antidote for that is to start with a premise. And the premise is that there is a divine plan. The premise is that there is a intelligence, and that intelligence is seeking to express itself through its creation. And that you are its expression, you are its creation. And that life is not willy-nilly. The things don't just happen. It isn't just, God doesn't play dice with the universe, I think is what Einstein said. That there is something intentional that is going on in the cosmos, and in a microscopic, on a microcosmic level, that's you. There is something intentional that's going on in and through your life, in and through my life. That something is growing, something is unfolding, something is evolving, and that plan or that intention or that intelligence is moving us through life. It is upending us. It is forcing change to happen. It is getting us to wake up from what we have been considered to be our norm or our comfort zone. We are being roused out of a complacency that has us blinded to the truth of our being, to the fundamental nature of life, and we can call it a good thing. Change that is motivated by growth and spiritual insight is a good thing, because it's why we've come. It's why you and I are here. We're not here just to live out a span of years in the physical sense. If we don't harvest a deeper understanding of who we have come here to be, then it's not a life worth living. It's an unexamined life. So we come to places like this to deepen our inner search and to extract meaning from what seems to be the vagaries of life, the outrageous winds of fortune and misfortune. And we can find it because it's there. We can find it because it's true. We can find it because it is what is behind the surface, under the surface, and within the changes of life. Just like the nucleus of each cell has a DNA, and that DNA directs the destiny of that cell, we have a divine plan in our soul, which directs how this life unfolds. It's very important that we have this, that this becomes sort of the working hypothesis for how we view life. I have compassion for people that don't have such a thing, because then life feels like it's completely spinning out of control, and it can really feel like life is against us. We've had days like that, yeah? Where the events of life that seem to be difficult seem to be God doesn't like me, or life is against me, or I am being diminished by the circumstances of life. But what if we held deeply to this idea, that there is this divine impulse that's seeking to be made known through us, and the only way that it can be made known through us is by waking us up. And the only way that you and I wake up, unfortunately, it's sometimes through things being shaken up. Does anyone relate to this? Yeah. So a major life transition can be an opportunity for transformation. Just remember this, if you remember nothing else from this series, that when you're going through those changes in life, those transitions, say, transition is for transformation. This change is for my good. This change is going to reveal something that is more true than what I have been holding to be true up until now. This change is going to send me in a direction where I will know more about who I really am, because perhaps I become comfortable with this part of my life, this way that I've identified myself, and I need to know that I am not what I have, and I am not what I do. I am who God says I am. I am that I am. I am spiritual. And I know it's not fun when we lose things that we cherish. But the spiritual life is about letting go of everything that is not eternal, so that we can become familiar with the changeless and eternal. So, talking about new beginnings today, and the idea of a beginning and an ending, they're really just kind of happen simultaneously, don't they? Because as one thing comes to an end, it's just like two sides of the same coin. Is if life is beginning to change and this is beginning to end, so this top of my hand here is now starting to go out of view, right? But as it's going out of view, then the underside of my hand is coming into view. It's all part of the same thing. An ending is a beginning at the same time. But oftentimes our challenge is not seeing the beginning when something is coming to an end. If we could see the beginning, we might welcome the ending. But oftentimes we are so much in grief for something that is ending, that our eyes are not open to the possibility that this new beginning is taking us to a better place. And oftentimes a new beginning starts as an internal experience. Do you know this one? That something begins to change inside of us, sometimes long before there's any external change. It's like, we get it, at a soul level before sort of our conscious mind catches up with what's wanting to take place. And that soul knowing can oftentimes feel like discontent. Does anyone know this one? Where you become sort of discontent. You just know the shoe doesn't quite fit like it used to. Your favorite everything is not so favored anymore. And you try to maybe modify it. You try to work with the same old, thinking that, well, it's always been good before. Maybe I just need to look at it differently. But if it's a persistent impulse from the universe to get us to shift or to change, then that comfort or that discomfort never goes away. It only usually intensifies. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? That there is an increasingly frustrating sense of discontent. The burr under your saddle, so to speak, is irritating. And that begins to ask us or force us to make a change. It was years of dying inside before I made a corporate career change. And I didn't know it. I just thought I was ungrateful. I just thought I was just tired of doing the same thing. I thought I just needed to change the form. And I changed the form of my work on numerous occasions. And for a while, it was better. You may have parallels in your life, yeah? You may change the form of your relationships. You may change relationships. But if there isn't any sort of insight as to what's underneath the discomfort, then you tend to sort of just keep recreating the same situation over and over again. Unless there's some recognition inside of what's really behind this discomfort, then we just keep changing forms, and the forms become just as dissatisfying as the last one. Does anyone relate to this? Yes. And so we know that when we do this in relationships, that means you can become a serial relationship killer, So it's just one relationship after another, but you haven't changed, and so the relationship ultimately must be very similar to the one that you've had before. Because as within, so without. And so as we embrace the new beginnings, it's really important for us to say, what is this comfort leading me towards? There's some great stories from the Bible and cinematically too. I'll share those with you this morning. We have Moses and Abraham, Noah and Mary, all were called out of their comfort zones to experience more, right? To stretch the limits of their current understanding of life and to see what more was possible. And were they all just like, oh, I'm so grateful for this call. I'm on it, God. Yeah, sign me up, man. Where do I go? No, every single one of them was reluctant and resistant. And we are, because from this side of transformation, it's scary. From this side of the new beginning, we cling to what is familiar. But spirituality is about us taking a leap of faith from the nudge that is moving us to a higher understanding, even though we can't see it in form. And we can't see it in form, and we're stuck with form needing to define our well-being, then we do not make the shift, and we stay stuck and we stay suffering. In Alice in Wonderland, remember this, Alice had to venture down a rabbit hole. So we have this notion of something unfamiliar, yeah? Where we have to go down some path we haven't gone before. We have to enter into, a field that we're not familiar with, or we have to, it's a realm of understanding that's unfamiliar to us. And then we have Dorothy, of course, in The Wizard of Oz, and her discontent led to a whole whirlwind that carried her to another place beyond the comfort of home. Harry Potter summoned out of an oppressive life so he could learn of his great powers. And of course, did he go right away? No. So each of these characters display this disbelief and this reluctance to answer the call. And in each case, something extraordinary happened in order to get them to go. Yeah. Now, it's better, see, when we have, if we're more prone to subtle insight, shall we say, and we're more motivated by those subtle promptings of spirit, so that we don't have to withstand the outrageous kind of upsets that happen in our life that force us to see what we are not seeing. So we have, for Moses, of course, it was a burning bush, not so bad. We got a talking rabbit there for Alice, pretty easy. Mary got the angel in the night, still pretty good. Harry Potter got a house full of owls when the one letter that showed up, was not enough. Well, I think of the story of Luke Skywalker from the early Star Wars days, and he got all kinds of messages, and he just kept saying, no, it can't be. And when he tried to go back home again, he found out that was gone. The farm was gone. His uncle and aunt were gone. And sometimes that's what it takes. The rug needs to be pulled out from under our current life so that we see that there is only one direction for us to go, and it's not here anymore. It is someplace else. It can happen through disease or illness. It can happen through financial setbacks. It can happen through relationships, the loss of a loved one. That can just shake us to the core and at once open our eyes to see what's possible, to see what we haven't been seeing. And so then the question becomes, what am I being asked to see? And how do I know, what are my steps into this new life? So in the book that we've been, I don't have it with me today, but the book that we've been reading in this series, Finding Yourself in Transition, he's got a few suggestions for how we approach this question of knowing, coming to know what our new beginning looks like. And he says, a true new beginning will be some expression of the soul's deepest desire. So we're not just talking here about changing our clothes or our wardrobe or buying a new car. We're talking about wholesale change of life, wholesale change of direction. And the idea being is that we want it to be connected with who we have come here to be, yeah? Our soul's deepest desire. Because our soul's deepest desire is what is going to launch us into that life that is going to be more fulfilling because it's connected with why we've come. Does this make sense? Yes. So here's some of the questions you can ask. What is it that I have always enjoyed doing? What has always come naturally for me? What have I felt naturally drawn or attracted to? What would I do with my life if I were not concerned with money? That's always a good one. What would I do if I knew I could not fail? What we're looking for is passion. What we're looking for is purpose. We're looking for something that is sort of illogical, you might say. Yeah? What would I do if I wasn't concerned about money? What would I do if I wasn't concerned about failure? So from the ego's mind, these are ridiculously fanciful questions, but we're not interested in what the ego's thinking. We've listened to that voice long enough. We're now interested in something deeper, something truer, something that is from the soul. And it's not going to be just that we're going to change a career or change the way that we express in the world. It's going to be what we're going to be expressing from that's so important about this shift, this new beginning. Not just what we're going to be doing and even how we're going to be serving the world or saving the world or any such noble notions that may be effects But the cause is going to be you and I getting connected with who we have come here to be and to come from that place, to have our expression be sourced from our true nature. If I were to die today, what would feel unfinished in my life? This is a wonderful question at any age. And what is it that is so important to me that I would risk everything in order to achieve or experience it? You get to your deep values. Because when you get to your deep values, then you've bypassed your addictions and your preferences and your whims and your fancies. What do you really stand on? What's your deep belief? What matters to you? If this was your last day on earth, what would you want to say about what your life meant? Where you extracted meaning from your life? And if there isn't enough, what would you be doing differently today? Rumi said this: sometimes you hear a voice through the door calling you, as a fish out of water hears the surf. Come back. Come back. And this turn toward what you deeply love saves you. Denise and I were dying in our careers. And I want you to know that we were living what many people would consider the ideal life. We were living in San Luis Obispo, California, which, of course, next to Santa Barbara is the Garden of Eden. We had a beautiful home, and we had 2 beautiful children. We were heavily involved in the community, in the church, the Unity Church up there, involved with our kids, and all their sports activities and their parents. We had many friends. We were prosperous. And we turned away from all of it because we were suffering from soul neglect in our work. And sometimes it's turning towards what you love that saves you. And every voice of objection, criticism, what are you thinking, arose when we made that decision. You're freaking crazy. Not just the voice from our egos, but from people, well-meaning friends, family members. You're crazy. Why would you give up this beautiful life that you have? And now 20 years later, when I'm looking at my nest egg, those voices do return. We figured we lost about $800,000 of equity making that choice, which would serve us well in this time in our life. But I wouldn't give it up. I didn't come here to this life to turn my back on what I love and my soul. I came here to express it. And if at the end of my life, I don't have a whole lot of money, that's a very easy compromise for me to make. When you meet with people and sit with people who are close to dying, which I've done so many times, they don't talk about the hundreds of thousands of dollars, more money that they could have made or accumulated, more of the wealth they could have amassed, or the degrees, the additional degrees that they could have, earned, or any such notions of success or achievement. Their regrets have to do with a couple of things. One is, did I love well? And did I live my life? My life. Did I make choices that were connected with my authentic self, who I have come here to be? I can say that I've done that. And I'm not done yet. I hope not. Just getting funner. And it's getting clearer. And that's what I love, to be with people who feel empty sometimes. And they come in and they go, I don't know, I feel so empty, I have no idea. And I go, that is just a beautiful place to be. Because then you're open. You're open. So when something comes to an end, it is a beautiful spiritual opportunity to ask the deeper question, now what? And not just now what in terms of the external, but now from what shall I live? Not what shall I do, but who shall I be? Starting with being, and then doing, and then having. We usually get it reversed, don't we? We get our sense of identity from what we have. And then that means what we can do. And then at the tail end is who we are as a result of what we have and do. But who you are is the first question. It's really important. It can change everything. So, I'm not suggesting, and don't for a minute think that I'm suggesting that you go home and sell your house and leave your partner, give all your money away, or any such drastic actions. I'm saying ask these questions. And if you don't have them, I'll send them to you, or you can get the book, which we have in the bookstore, about identifying the questions that call you to the depth of who you are and call you back to authentic purpose and why you have come. And the last thing I want to mention is the question that comes up oftentimes about when we're looking to change our life. The question is, should I focus on specific outcomes, or should I just leave it open and undecided or unfocused? And my feeling about that, and actually Robert Brummett sort of says it the same way, is that it's really hard for this little microscopic perspective that we have to really know what the plan should look like in the outer. But what we can know is this, what we've talked about today. We can know what we want to be feeling. We can know what we want to be experiencing. We can know this, the authenticity or the sense of passion or the sense of connection or the sense of creativity that we want to be expressing in our life. And we can let go of what it's going to look like because the divine plan, leave it up to the divine plan to decide on the what. So how do you want to be expressing? What do you want to be experiencing? That's a great way to create this new life for yourself. And then let divine order unfold what that looks like. Because when we get too specific, we oftentimes put a limitation on the infinite, yeah? We think we know, we put a limit on it, and we have it all put up on our poster board of how it's supposed to look and what she's going to look like, and the house we're going to live in, the car we're going to be driving, and the job we're going to have, and the salary. And we sort of created this thing out of what? Out of our souls or out of our preferences, and sometimes out of our addictions. What I mean by that is, if we create those things out there because the sense of not enough would be ameliorated by having those things in our life, then it's an unhealthy process. If we're saying, I need this in order to feel love, I need her to feel loved, if I need this to feel prosperous, I need this to feel creative, if it's coming from a sense of not enough, then those are really unhealthy creative processes. So what we want to do is we want to start with building up the temple of our own being and know who we would be expressing and what we would be expressing in this life. And when we know what we'd be expressing in this life, and that's tied to our deepest soul's purpose, then the universe knows very well how to fill the bill. Yeah? It knows what would give you that experience of love that would not take you down a rabbit hole of separation. Let's just put a pause here, and Nadine is going to bless us with another song, and that's going to be cap for the day. So thank you so much.